Hello and welcome to this week's Cats Whiskers TV. You may be wondering about the extreme close-up. Well, all is about to be revealed. You see, the Cats Whiskers TV crew won the Panthers pub quiz last week. As a forfeit for winning it, I was asked if I would wear this lovely t-shirt for the opening of the show. It's a little snug, as you can probably see, so I think I'll move straight on before I collapse from lack of circulation. On this week's show, we'll of course be discussing the games against the Giants at the weekend. Our hot topic is Doug Christensen's sacking at Sheffield, and then later we'll be looking ahead to see if Panthers can actually win the 2 trophies that are left on offer. But first, as always, it's Paul Baum with the news. I need to get out of this. Anyone got any scissors?
I'm Paul Baum, I'm dressed properly, and this is the Cats Whiskers TV News. The clear-up operation at Hooters begins after the Giants celebrations. The real reason behind Panthers' injury problems is revealed. Cats Whiskers TV presenter feels the effects of a too tight t-shirt. And that was the news.
Paul with the news there, and I can finally breathe again.
Suits you. I thought it suited you, to be honest.
It chafed a bit, it has to be said. Anyway, going back to the weekend, of course, and I think best place to start is to say very, very big congratulations to the Belfast Giants, the new Elite League champions, and very, very well deserved. Well, they were outstanding this weekend, weren't they?
They certainly were. They proved to everybody why they're top of the league and why they are now champions, played like champions, and also taught us a lesson, I felt, as well, you know. Coming into, well, yeah, 2 lessons. I mean, looking at Saturday's game, first of all, you know, there was a few reports and said domination and stuff, and I feel that's a little bit unfair to the Panthers. I won't class it as a domination, you know. I think at 2-1, you know, we were knocking, we were huffing and puffing, but we couldn't blow them down, and, you know, they went up and scored the 3rd, and it was game over, really. Sunday was a completely different matter, by all means. That's probably the first time in a very long time that I've seen a team dominate the Panthers at home, and it wasn't fun to watch, but, you know, full credit to the Giants. You can't take anything away from them. They are a very good hockey side.
I mean, on Saturday you said that you felt Panthers were knocking, but I always felt that Belfast, like very similar to the Panthers last season, had those extra couple of gears in reserve that they could very easily have moved into at any stage that they wanted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they started out the game quickly, better than us. They had once we got it to 2-1, I thought maybe we improved. I think we almost improved as the game went on, but there was that 5-minute period at the end of the second where they were just battering us. It was like the waves against an Aberystwyth shoreline at times. Topical as well, and you know they were just that bad. It almost looked at times as though they were on a power play. They'd always got a man extra. It looked like, you know, there's always a man in space, and that's not a pub anymore. And you know, I think that's all credit to Paul Adey. What he's done there. Every man, it's like you were saying, like we looked last season. Every man knew what they were there to do, and did it. There wasn't. You wouldn't necessarily say, you know, they're a team of, you know, there's no massive stars.
No.
On there, they're a team, and you know they played. They all knew what to do from the goalkeeper all the way through to the forwards. They all knew what they were doing.
I mean, Paul mentioned Adey there, and they look the epitome of a very, very well coached side. Like I said, they knew exactly what they was doing. They was all listening to what Paul Adey was telling them, and the systems that he's obviously employed shows he's done his homework on every team, and I think Sunday's game probably brought it home the most, because restricting us to 15 shots at home. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give credit to AD, and I think he's brought a calmness and just a freshness to the Giants, and I think the players, have wanted to listen to what he's had to coach them with. And look, they look a very slick, well-drilled team. They look like a team that's been playing together all season, and that's before anybody says, oh, injuries and stuff like that for the Panthers. They look like they've been playing with each other on the same line for a very long time. So they know where they're going to be. It's very slick and clinical, and to reduce us to 15 shots, like you say, tells its own story. And you can't really give enough praise to them, to be honest. And that's Todd Kelman. It's for bringing AD in. It's AD for bringing his new coaching techniques. It's the players for listening to AD and taking on board what he has to say. And they're thoroughly deserved champions.
Well, of course, we didn't only get our opinions, as we have. Our old mate Patrick Smyth from A View from the Bridge was in this very pub on Sunday night, and we got his views on the weekend. Welcoming Patrick Smyth from A View from the Bridge. A very happy Patrick Smyth after the last time I talked to you in here, after an 8-3 defeat, and well, you must be delighted.
Well, considering the last time we spoke here, I was, let's say, a little bit depressed. I'm absolutely jubilant at the minute because the Belfast Giants showed this weekend why they're 20 points clear at the top of the Elite League. I think the one question mark that stood over the Belfast Giants is the fact that, are they that good? Are they, we came here, the Nottingham Panthers stuffed us, let's be fair, they stuffed us 8-3 at the end of a road swing. Could we come in here and take these points? And we did comprehensively.
The confidence in the team seems to be absolutely phenomenal at the minute. They were slick, passing very well.
Just as a bit of an aside, I'm being distracted by Gary Jackson, a very good friend of mine, who seems to have a hole in his jeans.
So
this is a typical Belfast Giants away trip.
Yeah, no, it seems that way. It seems that way. So, so we said the Giants seem to be absolutely superb. Great passing, great momentum. They seem to know where everyone else was on the ice. And to be fair, destroy Panthers over 2 games. There's a lot of confidence in the team. As consistency has obviously played such a massive part in Giants' rise to the top of the league.
You have to see the atmosphere down in the room. Just had a really nice interview with Kelvin Elfring, man of the match tonight, and his view is the fact that when you're winning, when you're doing as well as the Belfast Giants, and then the atmosphere is going to go up and up and up. This is the most balanced is the word side that I've ever seen wearing Giant shirts. They're absolutely fantastic to watch. You look at the way that Elfring just basically able to take it off his toe, skate, and then put shields through. Some really, really good plays from the Belfast Giants. Listen, I'm obviously going to sing their praises because I'm a Belfast Giants fan, but it's an absolute delight to watch. They're so strong defensively, very, very key. Very key. I think that's what the Belfast Giants have been missing for the last couple of seasons defensively. I don't want to rip on the guys that are previously, but defensively this season we have been phenomenal. You look at Elfring, Brookwell, you look at Mason, you look at Sandrock, you look at the Phillips brothers. Superb to watch. But when you're so balanced and then going forward, listen, I could sing the praises of these guys all day long. The thing for me was I was very, very worried coming on here. We spoke during the week, and you thought it'd be a split series, and I actually agreed with you. I thought it would be a split couple of games, but watching the way the Giants just dominated these 2 games, put a big smile on my face.
Finally, a word for Paul Lady, who is obviously, a legend here, as rightly so, with his shirt retired. He's really put together a superb side, and he's got them playing, just some wonderful hockey.
You have to look at the fact that Paul Eddy walked into that side when it was more or less put together. Todd Kelman set a lot of contracts down in front of Adam Keefe, Darrell Lloyd. A lot of these guys were already in place. Paul Eddy had to come in, see what he had in front of him, and then basically work them into the side to play the way he wanted them to play. And he's done that. And he brought in key players. We were talking up in the stands about the fact that, the guys that he brought in You know, his recruitment was superb. Chris Higgins, absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant.
He's been absolutely fantastic. A guy who came in, and I know that I said, and I'm sure you guys said, you know, we looked at his stats and went, not so sure. He's been superb. Kelvin Elfring, man of the match tonight, superb at the back. Dustin Whitecotton, no better. I would argue with anybody there's no better centre in the league. You know, absolutely fantastic to watch these guys. And Paul Eddy, this is his side, that we're playing exactly the way he wanted them to play. I'm delighted that we have him. He is a Panther, let's be fair. I look around to see the number 22 hanging up in the NIC. He is a Panther, but he's, you know, he's one of us, and, you know, loving it. Loving the side he put together, loving the way he's coaching us, loving the way they were playing the game. Couldn't be happier as a Belfast Giants fan.
Well, congratulations on what will be an inevitable league championship.
We're conference champions. Hear that? Back to back conference champions.
Nobody cares.
Until you win it.
But as ever, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, mate. Always a pleasure.
So the thoughts of Patrick Smyth there from A View from the Bridge. Just following on from that and thinking about what Corey Nielsen has said in the press. You know, he wants more from his players. Heaped a lot of praise on Belfast, but he says he was obviously quite disappointed with the way his players played, saying that Belfast should have won 7 or 8-0. I think he said after last night's performance. Obviously, we've got a very, very important game coming up Tuesday against Sheffield in the Challenge Cup. Yes, we do hold a 2-goal lead, but we've got pretty much zero momentum going into that game.
Well, this is what I was trying to say. You know, I was having this conversation with people that sit around me going, and they're like, well, we're saving ourselves for Tuesday. It's like, yeah, but you know, so where does this take every game at its time? You know, you can't look at it like that, because we've just been, you know, hammered in our barn at a weekend by the Elite League champions. So what's to say that the crowd isn't going to be into it, you know, tomorrow night, because we were all downbeat about what happened at the weekend. And I don't think it's just as easy for players just to switch it on and off like that, to be honest. And you know, I think momentum is a massive thing. And the final point I have to say on that is, say we beat Sheffield, right? We play Belfast. Oh, hang on, we've just absolutely been, you know, shown a lesson by them. So I'm sorry, you have to try and win every game. And you know, I agree with what Corey says, to be fair, because we just weren't good enough.
Just coming back to you there, Paul. Obviously, a 2-goal cushion is pretty good. It's a long time since we lost by 3 goals in that building. But you know, Sheffield, they've got a lot to prove to a new coach or a new regime. More on that later. But you know, it's still quite a dangerous encounter. It's still very finely poised, I think.
Yeah, you couldn't exactly say we're a form team at the moment, could you? I mean, I know Sheffield's isn't great either, but I think I was looking this afternoon, and I think we've won a quarter of the games we've played since start of the year. It's not great, is it? That, but, and you know, I think Aaron's right. You know, lose. You can't. It's very easy to lose momentum. Very difficult to get it back. And you know, as well, you know, there's I saw a lot of talk about, oh, did you want players to get injured before the game on Tuesday? If you don't play with the full intensity, that gets you injured half the time as well. If you go into things half-heartedly, and they're not, because the way they were playing, they weren't going into things half-heartedly, that's when you get injured. So I think, would we beat Belfast? I doubt it, but you know, we could have gone in there harder. So I think we could have made a very big mistake. And with Doug going, it's given Gertson the easiest team talk ever. He just says to him, right, let's prove it was his fault, not ours.
Simple. Should be a very, very interesting game on Tuesday.
This won't go out before the game, will it? 'Cause I don't want to write team talks for him.
Too late. Right.
We're out Wednesday.
Let's have a look at at the Elite League table as it stands. Belfast there at the top, champions, 22 points ahead of Braehead, who had quite a poor weekend with a couple of defeats which hit their form somewhat. I mean, it's quite interesting actually that there was quite a lot of things needed to happen for Belfast to win the title, and I suppose it shows how little of a challenge they've really had this season, where all the results fell in place in order to, which allowed them to win the title.
You're right, that's the way it's been going, hasn't it?
Yeah.
If something can happen for them, it has done, but I think if they hadn't, it was just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, absolutely, of course it was. Some of the other results, Fife again continuing their fine form recently with a couple of wins over the weekend. 7 points behind Cardiff for that final playoff place. Still a long shot, but there's a chance that they could scrape in there, and Hull coming back with an excellent win against Cardiff Devils on Saturday night from 3-0 down to win 5-3. Fife as well, to mention them, 4-0 down against Braehead and came back and won 6-4, so a couple of excellent performances there on Saturday night.
I'm Rob Lakovich and you're watching Cats Whiskers TV.
Just one hot topic this week, and you won't be surprised to learn it is the sacking of Steelers coach Doug Christiansen last week. Before we actually discuss that event, here's some views that we got over the weekend.
Right, so what a week it's been in Steelerland. Crazy week. Firstly, Tuesday, it was announced that assistant coach Mark Lefebvre had taken up the head coaching role of the Coventry Blaze. Fair play to Lefebvre, it's a good challenge for him. Steelers didn't stand in his way, and they let him get on with it. And he's done well. He got a 7-3 win in Cardiff the other night. So good first win for Lefebvre, and hopefully he'll do well there. And then the big news came 2 days later. Steelers announced that they released Doug Christiansen of his position at the Sheffield Steelers as head coach. So that one kind of got mixed reviews, really. A lot of fans, some are happy about it, some are calling for his head, and then other fans were thinking, we should have got to the end of the season at least. So my personal view of it is, I was shocked. Doug's a very professional man, he's very diligent in what he does, but at the same time, the players apparently weren't happy. They were complaining that they were overcoached. The hockey at times, or a lot of the time, was quite boring to watch, very defensive. But we kind of knew that, though. When Doug was coming in, we knew what to expect. But it was overhyped, his arrival, and we were told, oh yeah, we're going to win trophies, this, that and the other. So, I don't know, it's a strange one. I think one of the final nails in the coffin what came for Doug was sitting Tim Spencer in the first leg of the Challenge Cup against the Panthers. You don't sit your tough guy on home ice against the physical Panthers team. And it backfired. The Panthers absolutely bullied us, and so they should have done. We would have done the same if roles were reversed, like any hockey team would have and should have, really. Then inconsistency throughout the season, players being overcoached, things like that. So, give Tony Smith credit. It's a gutsy move, and he needed to do it. It was a business move. Maybe it was affecting attendances with a boring style of hockey, the losing. So fair play to Tony. He's a passionate man. He cares about the club. So he had a big decision to make, and time will tell if it's the right one. But Doug's had a tough time this year. Obviously, his father had passed away before Christmas. Then the news of Randy Dagenet's brother-in-law, who was close to Doug, and also Randy Dagenet's daughter passing away. So he's had a lot of off-ice issues to deal with. So he's had a tough time, and now he's obviously out of work. So now Stephen Gertson, he'll take over the mantle until an adequate coach is found. Stevie leads by example. All the guys respect him, so hopefully, it could be a bit of a kick up the backside for the team going into the Challenge Cup game on Tuesday. He might have a similar effect to how Ben Simon did. Ben was a great coach for the Steelers. He led by example. Could be a similar thing with Gertson. So moving forward, I'd like to see Tony take his time over who he's going to get in. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll make a good decision for the team. You know, I'd love to see Ben Simon back, but you know, I doubt he'll come back. He's doing well in North America. Do we go for someone who knows the league, a Jared Adams, a Sylvain Cloutier, or do we go for fresh blood? I don't know. I'm kind of torn between Sylvain Cloutier maybe, or getting a new coach to the league. So time will tell, I guess. So been an interesting week in Steelerland, but hopefully it won't affect the performances too much going towards the latter end of this season and the playoffs and Challenge Cup semi-final second leg.
Have the Sheffield Steelers made a mistake? Yes. The lunatics have taken over the asylum. I think it's a case of that Doug Christensen, okay, you know, maybe it wasn't getting on in the room, but the guy has got a proven record with regards to the Sheffield Steelers and the Belfast Giants. Statistically, he's the most successful Belfast Giants coach. When he won us the championship, he only had two regulation losses, and it was, you know. So what exactly did the Sheffield Steelers? What were they expecting from Doug Christensen? Were they expecting them to be top of the league? No, absolutely not. Third in the league, still in the Challenge Cup. There's no reason to sack that man. And as I say, the lunatics have taken over the asylum. And if Steve Gertson does well, everybody give him praise. If he does badly, everybody will point to Doug Christensen. End of story.
So the thoughts of Scott Antcliffe and Paddy Smyth there. I've got to say, because I was in the meeting, so I had texts from you two waiting for me, going, have you heard the news? And I'm like, what news? And I have to say, I was genuinely shocked that I just couldn't believe it. And I think that was something that was shared through a lot of fans throughout the UK. We've got a tweet here from Alistair Howie, which says there is no logic at all in sacking an experienced coach for a team that is still in with a chance of 2 trophies, and he's absolutely right.
He is, and what we're going to do as well say now is we can have some of the other tweets running across the bottom down here somewhere, because he was supposed to say that in the link but forgot. Yeah, you know, they're doing better than us, but I think the thing that I find strangest about it, apart from the timing, is the noises that's been coming out of Sheffield. And he was a lovely bloke, you know, all this, that and the other, but he wasn't right for the Steelers. What does that mean? I mean, you know, he wasn't winning that many games, and that's it. But what does not being right for the Steelers, you know, what does that mean?
Well, I suppose there's only really Tony Smith or who can answer that question. But I mean, I must admit, I saw that and just thought, well, when they say, "Oh, he was,"
the thing that gets said at these times, you know, that we've got to say something. We don't want to sit there and say he was completely useless or whatever we're actually thinking. So, I mean, I think, you know, they're saying, you know, it's not a knee-jerk reaction either. If it's been coming for weeks, well, why didn't it happen sooner? If that's what they think, if they think he wasn't doing the job, why did they let it continue to a point where now it's, well, the longer it went on, the harder it then becomes to change.
I mean, the other thing as well is, did they not do their homework before they appointed him in last April? Because let's face it, it's not as if he's new to the country. Doug had been around for many years in the Elite League, so surely Sheffield knew what they was getting.
Well, I mean, look, you can go back to his fanfare entrance and the press conference that they did, and I think it was Seth Bennett that asked Tony Smith about, you know, did you get any resumes? Did you ask people's opinion, etc. And like you say, he's been in the league for 4 or 5 years, you know, now or something. So you would like to think that you know that person, and I don't know, evidently there was something not right there for them, and it's very, you know, I find timing very strange, to be honest. You know, just after you know, the Panthers game, I'd personally bring in, does the fact that he dropped Legui the game before that, does that have anything to do with it? You know, just playing devil's advocate there. And
well, just going on to that point that you make about Jeff Legui, we've drawn up a comparison between last season under Ryan Finnerty, who also found himself out of a job at the Steelers at the end of last season, and Doug Christensen. and you look at the sort of imports and Brits and the same players, and of course Jeff Le Guy is at the top of that list. He's very much an established player in Sheffield. Some would say a Steelers legend, probably going to get his shirt retired once he finishes his career there. You know, for Doug to drop Jeff Le Guy from a game is a massive statement to make.
Yeah, but that's the job of a coach, and that's the coach's. That is the coach's decision. You know that if he wants to do that, and at the end of the day, they got the right result.
True.
You know, because they won 5-1, and I mean, if you're gonna if a player becomes indispensable and you know is undroppable, then you have issues. I think personally, and you know you're undermining the coach there, and I don't know. I think you look at that. You look at the game. You know, the last game in charge, and none of their forwards scored. You know, they had to rely on 3 defencemen, and that tells its own story to a certain degree. And I mean, I don't know. You look at the graphic that we've brought up just now, and you know, there's a core amount of Brits there that played under Finity with him. They played under Doug as well. You know, there's Fatter and Gertson as well. So they're big players that possibly haven't performed under Finity and now haven't performed under Christensen. So when does that come into effect? When do you say, do you know what, look, you know, for more than one season now you haven't performed? It can't always be the coach. You know, there has got to be a point where you go, do you know what, you as a player aren't doing enough, and we've either got to let you go or you pull your socks up. And obviously that's what Doug was doing when he dropped Le Guy. It was a kick up the arse. You know, and that's the coach's choice at the end of the day. And you know, I don't know. I don't think you'll ever know really the full reasons.
It's like you say, you can only speculate, can't you? But I mean, I suppose it's easy to make the assumption that there's a bit of player power going on within the Steelers locker room.
It's a difficult question.
Well, but it is. I mean, when you sort of look at it that way, with Le Guy is dropped and Doug finds himself out of a job 3 days later, it is probably a coincidence, but it may not be.
But you know, as Aaron says, that's his job, and it worked. So to then lose to us and get sacked off the back of that, it does smack of a knee-jerk reaction, even though they've said it hasn't. But you know, I just find it slightly. I mean, you look at the figures, and you know, they are worse. It would appear they were worse under him than they were under Finity. And so, you know, looking at that, it makes sense. But again, you know, this guy losing their identity. What's their identity? We're not exciting anymore. I'm sorry, but how many extra points do you get for being exciting? I've managed for years without it. You know, the coach is not there to put bums on seats. That's the marketing to it. He's there to win games, and you know, hang on, he wasn't doing that either. So my argument, but one question: Mark Lefebvre, did he know what was going down, as the kids say?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's interesting, because you obviously have Mark Lefebvre become head coach at Coventry and has made a very good start with 2 wins. That happened shortly before this, so you do have to wonder, was there something going off in the background? Of course, I would have assumed Dave Whistle was probably a target for them, but obviously he's now signed to a 3-year contract at Cardiff, so that's not going to happen. If you're looking at possible replacements, you think...
Come on, we've got to get the big guns out now.
Well,
Blaisdell's coming back.
Well, you look at it this way: AD's returned, Dave Whistle's returned. I mean, Blaze could.
It's not the last 10 years, hasn't happened.
I can't see that, to be honest. But I mean, I suppose.
Oh, you know what that means?
What?
Peter Woods.
Oh no, I don't think so. I think the favourite will be Gerard Adams, but. And the point I made in a blog I posted last week was, what has Gerard Adams done ahead of Doug Christensen? Yeah, I would say Doug Christensen is a better calibre of coach than Gerard Adams.
Well,
you've got one now.
You know, well, look, at the end of the day, it's personnel, isn't it? Look, the figures back it up. Let's say the figures back it up, saying that Doug wasn't good enough results-wise. You know, if we bring it up in comparison to Finity in his last season, you know, out of the 39 games that Doug had in charge, he had a 56 win percentage. Finity in the same 39 games in his last season, 72% win. So, you know, there's a big difference there. So from that point of view, they may be right to sack him. But then you go, right, well, who's better? Who's out there that's, you know, can take us to... I mean, and I sort of agree with Paul in the sense of this, you know, a Steeler way of playing, you know, bringing back the entertaining, and we can't afford to lose, you know, attendances and stuff like that. You know, is Adams going to bring more people into the building? You know, that's down to winning games and players performing. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, Adams has got his testimonial this year at Cardiff, and that might hamper it. But I was interested to hear Tony go, you know, we'll look to get somebody in 10 to 14 days, and you know, 10 to 14 days in hockey is a long time to a certain degree. You know, you've just got to challenge cup semi-final against your biggest rivals, which you could easily turn over, especially, you know, looking at our performance and result of the weekend, easily turn that over. So then what happens? You know, I mean, it's a very, you know, it's a very strange situation, but you know, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't criticise Tony Smyth. He's made a decision and he's gone with it. You know, so fair play for that, instead of hanging around and stuff like that and wait for the end of the season, as some people have said. You know, he's made it now, and that's, you know, I think you'll just wait and see, because I think you could pull anybody out the hat really, and we'll all be shocked.
So before we finish this segment, put your neck on the line. Who's going to replace him? And will Doug end up back in the Elite League next season?
I'll answer.
Aaron.
Just about to answer.
I would say no to Big Doug, to be honest. I think there was possibly possibilities. You know, you could maybe look at Coventry, because I think Fab's only there till the end of the season, I believe. You know, Cardiff.
He's seen what's going on in the background. Does he want to go back?
Well, this is, you know, does Doug want to go back? You know, does he really, or does he want to take a break from it? I mean, I think the interesting one is the GB situation. Personally, I think that's a topic to talk about. Who will Sheffield get? God knows. I wouldn't honestly. You know, you would say Adams, but I mean, I don't even think that really. So I think it'll be left field. It'll be somebody that you probably weren't expecting.
I think Adams, because I think it's the easy decision, and he's available. But yeah, it is. So
I think on their recent form, I think they'll go after Sylvain Cloutier.
No, that's probably not a bad. Yeah, that's not a bad shout. Oh, because he's
or Clyde Toole.
Okay, I wonder what Dempsey's doing these days. Anyway, I am
not answering his phone.
So I am sure this will roll on and on for a bit, and we will see at the end of the season, I guess.
Or 10 to 14 days.
Of course, at this point in the show, we would normally look ahead to the fixtures. As Belfast won the league so early, they're all pretty much dead rubbers. So we're not going to do that. Just to say that Panthers, of course, will be playing Dundee at home on Saturday, and then, of course, another game against Sheffield on Sunday. How refreshing! Anyway, as we're all Panthers fans, 2 trophies left to play for. Can the Panthers win them?
You have to say yes. You know, we've got as good a chance as anybody else. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they're going to be 2 trophies. You know, very hard to get your hands on. To be honest, you know, you're going to have to look at the Belfast Giants. They've got a great chance to get the Grand Slam, and I'm pretty sure they're going to want to get it. For me, it's, you know, you can mention Corey Nielsen's chat again, and he says we've got to find some rhythm. We've got to find, you know, players have got to start gelling a bit now. You know, because if we're serious about, you know, keeping these 2 trophies that we won last season, we've got to start getting some form, and we've got to start getting a bit of momentum and actually the confidence back in the team and back in the fan base, because I think we all say yes, we can still win them, but it's going to be tough.
Of course, we had Jonathan Boxall in here a couple of weeks ago, and he was very passionate about how the locker room wanted to win those 2 trophies that were available. I don't think there's any lack of desire in the locker room for a second. The thing that worries me was seeing how we were dominated by the Giants at the weekend, and thinking if we get through Sheffield, then we've got to face them in a 2-legged final, and that is going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, well, it's the same with the playoffs as well. I mean, they are the team to try and beat, and I don't know. We've got it. I mean, you were saying, going back to that interview he did yesterday after the game. You were talking about that. I was thinking, go back to the one after the Bipolo.
Oh yes.
Yeah, the famous monosyllabic one. I just wanted to say Bipolo again because it makes me laugh. And Owen asked him the question: does the dressing room have the same belief or the same desire as you do? I think it was, and he said, I don't know. And that worries you. That worries me anyway. And and I think sometimes, don't get me wrong, you watch the team and there's no lack of effort.
No, I mean, we've said that previously.
You talk about the injuries, talk about the changes in personnel, as mystifying as some of those were, and as unsurprising as some of the other ones were, and that's caused problems. But that was one of the differences Saturday night. Well, I mean, I only went to the Saturday night game, but that was one of the differences, that there was only one team there. The other, you got, there's the odd clump that's gelling, and they're the ones who've been here. Well, I mean, that's something else that Belfast have got, the continuity. That we haven't. We got the Brits. We only got 3 imports back this year, and that's really. And the imports we brought in, by and large, especially the ones at the start of the season. I mean, look how many of those aren't here anymore for one reason or another. I don't think almost any of them worked. Maybe Salters, maybe Henley, but in short, I don't think we've got what it takes to beat Belfast over 1 leg or 2.
Okay. Well, of course, we proved we can beat Belfast. But we proved we can beat Belfast. It was only a couple of months ago. It was an 8-3 victory over the Giants, where, as Paddy alluded to, we battered them that night. And so we can do it. It's within us to do it. It's
can you see it happening again?
I'm always sort of more of the glass half full type, and I would say, but
you're miserable apart from mine, I'm the chirpy one.
But we can do it. It's just finding it again.
Well, exactly, and I think that's what will be annoying, Corey and Strax. It is, and even as fans, I mean, I was sat there, on Sunday going, we've played better than this. We've performed better than this. We've been a team in games this season, but for some weird reason, we just haven't been consistently a team. And I think, come the Challenge Cup final, if we get there, and come the playoff weekend, which, there's no reason why we might not even make the playoff weekend. Let's be honest about this. There's some good sides that we could potentially face, including the Steelers. So that's no guarantee, first of all. Come playoff weekend, if we are there, look, it's down here. There's going to be a lot of Panthers fans there. I mean, if you'd like to think that maybe that will give an extra buzz, but
to say that it didn't over the weekend.
No, but playoffs is a little bit different, I think. But one thing that will win us the Challenge Cup if we get into the final and possibly the playoffs is team. It's a team sport. There's no individuals, and unfortunately, I just think a few times, you just see an individual trying a bit too much. Where before or last season, as a team, we performed better, and I think that's what's gonna win us anything this season is we gel as a team a bit more and we perform as a team. But it's going to be interesting, and I think, you know, and it's pretty clean, isn't it? You can go in there and go, right, league's gone. You know, you've got 2 trophies. Do you want to, you know, really question? I mean, I agree with Boxer and some of the other players that, you know, we speak to. There's no lack of effort. There's no desire. I mean, there's no lack of desire. Sorry, got that wrong, didn't I? But they're going to want to win those 2 trophies. And you know the management and you know the organisation are going to want to win those trophies.
Yeah, without doubt.
It's just whether come ice time we can.
They've all got to look inside themselves and see if it's there. Wow. In pure evangelistic mode.
And on that, and on that deep note to send you over, I think we will leave it there for this week. Now I can just about feel my arms again. We will see.
I thought it suited you. I think you ought to wear it every week. I have it on longer.
I think not.
Where's it around the hour?
We will see you next week. Thanks for joining us once again. Goodbye.